Thank you for joining us for this Curiosity Corner. Today, we're going to talk about Atomic Habits by James Clear. Perfect this time of year when everyone's thinking about how do they create new goals for themselves and try to change their habits. So it's perfect.
I really liked the way that the author framed things. I think the different mindset shifts that he discussed throughout the book was really enlightening. Just that even like thinking of yourself as a person who does things versus things you have to do was really I started doing it and it was kind of powerful, I thought. He gave the example of like someone saying I'm trying to quit smoking versus I'm not a smoker. And for me, I started to implement it versus saying to myself, like, oh, I have to go for a run, say, like, oh, I'm a runner, and just that it's just part of my day. It's what I do.
I love
Mhm.
mindset shifts that he talks about, and he calls
Mhm.
it identity-based habits concept, where it's almost like we do that negative self-talk of like, I'm lazy. I love the idea of just shifting that mindset around.
And the way too that he mentioned, like making your environment conducive to some of these habits too was enlightening. 'Cause it's not just like putting things out right in front of you to make sure it's in sight, but also cultivating your group of people who have very like-minded goals.
I
Yeah.
love that part too, where like putting yourself around people that you want to be more similar to helps support
Mhm.
you in the changes that you
Yeah.
want. And like habit stacking is something that I think we both recommend to patients all the time. I use it in my own life and it is such a simple concept. I tell patients a lot is buckling their seatbelt because I'm always talking about taking deep breaths throughout the day. And so I encourage people whenever they buckle their seatbelt to just like take a really big deep breath. And when you habit stack those, it just becomes automatic.
He also talked about, oh, what was it called? Temptation bundling. Here, like the things that you have to do with the things you want to do so that it is kind of a build off of the habit stacking. He gave the example of like exercising while you're watching a show.
The third one that I feel like I use the most is how he talks about systems versus goals. He says you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, which I think is so profound because we can set these goals like, I'm going to read 10 books this year, which feels kind of amorphous, but if you put a system in place of I read for at least 10 minutes before I fall asleep every night, suddenly
Mhm.
every day you get that little like boost of I read today. So it kind of puts
Yep.
a system in place to achieve the goals that you want. I cannot recommend the book enough. I think it's so great. And hearing you bring up other things that I forgot about, I'm like, I should read it again.
No, I loved it. I think he put it in a really tangible ways, like even the 2 minute method of, habit stacking things for if it's something completely new, just get in the habit of doing it for 2 minutes a day. I guess one thing I've started to implement since the book too was the habit tracking, just to get an idea of like, how do I spend my day? It's been a while since I've done something like that, but just to really get like a pretty systematic breakdown of like how do I spend my time so that if there is a habit or as he put it, like friction in what I want to achieve, I can work to identify that and pull those friction points out. I mean, one of my goals for this year is to run a half marathon. So my husband came up with this really good program for me, and it's so satisfying to just like hold myself to it every day. I tackle the item for exercise or rest and just cross it off my list. It's really rewarding. There's like the whole habits cheat sheet for the different like core laws of habit change. So like making it obvious, making it attractive, easy and satisfying in the different ways to actually do that. And then I did sign up for the 30-day like free habit changing program that the author James Clear offers as well. And so I'll kind of have to give it a try and see how it goes, but it gives like different action items and a checklist for you too. So if it helps again to cross things off and just put pen to paper, it's a great resource.
Well, thank you for joining us for Curiosity Corner, and we hope you check out the book.